My boy John Schnepp, man, finally getting that shit out. I watched it, John. I watched it. Bravo, buddy. Bravo. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Think About It Reviews. We are talking the death of Superman Lives. What happened? Now, this is a documentary by John Schnepp. I've been waiting for this documentary. It just seems like it's been like 2 years, right? Mr. Schnepp had problems financing it. Of course, they got a Kickstarter going, so he finally got the money to finish off his documentary that has to do with, if you guys haven't known, guys, haven't heard, there was going to be a Superman movie, I believe in the 90s, late 90s, that was going to include Nicolas Cage as Clark Kent, aka Superman himself, and this was going to be directed by freaking Tim Burton. It was going to be directed by Tim Burton. And the screenplay and the writing, some of it was done by Kevin Smith. But Kevin Smith overall got fucked over. And Tim Burton didn't want him in this anywhere near this project. And of course, the ever so popular John Peters that we hear that Kevin Smith talks about all the time. We get to hear his input on what Kevin Smith had to say and his role in producing, Superman Lives that never got to live, or aka Superman Reborn. Now, this is going to be spoilers because I think this documentary definitely is something that we want to talk about, and there's a lot to talk about in here. My input, my overall, first of all, let's talk about the documentary. My overall expression in this documentary. John, Mr. Schnepp, I really like Mr. Schnepp. He's really awesome. If you haven't seen him on AMC Movie Talk, this guy is awesome, man. He's like a bro, dude. He's like, if you can just hang out with him, drink a beer, talk comic books, whatever. Like, this guy is really, really cool. He definitely reminds me of my co-worker. But anyway, so I think Schnepp did a great job presenting a lot of definitely interviews of Tim Burton, Peters, Kevin Smith, everybody that was basically, involved in this project, and then showing us concept art, showing us behind the scene footage. I mean, that was so intriguing, seeing everything that was put together for this film, especially with freaking Brainiac, them talking about casting it, Nicolas Cage, of course, in the suit, and then different kind of variations of the suit. I mean, we have him in his original suit, and we have him in this tech kind of suit, like this all glowing, I don't know how to freaking say it. It's like it's just a new kind of Daft Punk kind of suit there, where it just glows and light. It's a light show basically. I think what I really was impressed by was the concept art of this film. I mean, the concept art can always make when you see it on the wall, it's not going to be like that in real life in the film, but it's so amazing to see some of this concept art that these creators, these artists have done. And they've not only gotten people who've done comic books, they've also got people from, Europe and wherever who don't even know, I don't really know comic books, but that's the reason why. I want to see your take on it. So that was very interesting. Also, Nick Cage, man, he had that hair going, it was basically a wig. They could cut it to how they wanted it. It was interesting seeing Tim Burton with Nick Cage. It was interesting to see Tim Burton now. Tim Burton's so frail. He's just a weird guy. He laughs at basically his jokes, and he laughs at Nicolas Cage. He thinks he's being funny, but Nicolas Cage, I think, is just overall being serious. He's not really cracking jokes. It was just weird. It was behind the scenes. It was just weird. Tim Burton is a weird dude. But I will say that this guy is so freaking creative, and he does, he make great movies, but not nowadays. if you look at his house, man, he's got dolls. He's got dolls. He's got. I mean, when Schnepp was interviewing him, there was like literally a doll sitting right behind him. So it's oh, and of course he has his shades on and stuff. His hair's all crazy. Doesn't look like he hasn't showered for like weeks. But give it to Tim Burton. I mean, he's made some fantastic stuff. It's just like he really did ruin Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, didn't he? But it was interesting to hear his thoughts. You could tell he was so frustrated in the whole process of trying to get this film made. But the studio, coming in saying, nope, you're a risk. Overall, that was the point. Like Batman and Robin was a shit. I mean, it blew up. It tanked. Every film Warner Brothers was doing, Warner Brothers, it was tanking. It was failing. It was box office poisoned. And then they wanted to throw their dice on Wild Wild West. And that's why Superman Lives got axed. Their budget went to Wild Wild West. And we all know Wild Wild West was shitty too. So, I mean, it took a while to even, them starting to get going. So when they were finally, going to get the green light and actually start filming some shit, they said no. Warner Brothers, the studio said, no, sorry, you're done. I mean, this is costing way too much money as it is. So you got to understand the studio's perspective on this as well. Everything is not going good, and they're really taking a risk with the Superman Lives. That was called Superman Reborn before Kevin Smith got their hands on it. So, I mean, you got to understand, this film is, it's Superman. However, it's not like today where it's more than 50% chance that this thing's going to be a hit. I mean, they were really taking a risk on this, and the ideas were out there as well. Going back to the whole documentary, I mean, I thought some audio issues, especially going to Mr. Tim Burton, because I bet you, he didn't want a lot of shit in there. I felt like Schnepp could have transitioned a little bit better to this death. For some reason, I was thinking of George Lucas versus the People, or the People versus George Lucas. I don't know how much of a budget they had, but I felt like the transition should have been like that, like that documentary. But overall, Schnepp did very well. Good. I mean, the point of a documentary is to get your thoughts on this subject matter and to give you every single thing, like every little fact, every little concept art, everything, to explain why this didn't go on and why I wanted it to go on. You know what I mean? So Schnepp did a very great job on that. My overall thoughts on Superman Lives is this. After watching this film and seeing everything, and then of course that famous picture with Nicolas Cage in the Superman suit, and Schnepp explains like, oh yeah, somebody just got him. Somebody just took a picture when, he was barely just like blinking. And then, you can see actually see the footage of it. And, Nicolas Cage is about to pretty much pose and everything. Even then, Nicolas Cage as Superman, seeing him in the suit, seeing him like walk around with the suit and stuff, it's still, and it's just those shoulders were so, for the suit, were so much bigger than him, They said that it complemented his body build, his figure, but I don't think it did. I think that the suit was a little wonky and a little wacky on him. I think Nicolas Cage, he's the most crazy actor I've ever watched. I think you can either have a good Nicolas Cage performance or a bad Nicolas Cage performance. Him as Clark Kent would have been just so odd, especially when he had that little suit and the Mickey Mouse shirt on there. I mean, this movie just looked insane. I want to watch it just to see like how it would have turned out, but on all honesty, I think you would have got yourself not another Batman and Robin, but something serious than that, and just something just completely just like off the rails. Tim Burton's vision of how he did Kevin Smith as well. Kevin Smith, I have a love-hate relationship with this guy. I mean, I really love his storytelling. I really love Clerks. I think sometimes, when he talks, he's honest, and I like his honesty. But sometimes he talks too much, Sometimes I'd listen to him like, yeah, you're bullshitting. You're really bullshitting now. Now you just really just want to talk. A lot of people don't like him because they've come to blows with him and everything. And They just feel like this guy just talks too much shit, or like he's not honest. Sometimes he's not honest. Kevin Smith, that's why it's a love hate relationship. Like sometimes I like Kevin Smith when he talks. Sometimes it's just like, come on, dude, get over it. His writing of the Superman, how he wanted it, how he brought in. I like the Batman cameo. That would have been sweet. But his overall bringing him talking about the script and what he wanted to do. It still didn't seem that great. And John Peters, man, John Peters must be the wackiest motherfucker ever. Them telling stories how John Peters basically kids, used to roam and look at the concept art and this and that, and he used to wrestle jujitsu everybody in the office. Like, Peters is weird. He did have some good explanations about, when Kevin Smith, I think Kevin Smith took it a little bit over the top, but he did have good explanations on what he meant by it, and I could see where he was going, but the dude is still a kook. The guy is fucking crazy, man. Oh, man, this guy, like, listening to him and watching Schnepp just look at him, and it's like, this guy's just a fucking nut. It was funny seeing Schnepp, asking these questions and saying questions to a lot of the other people, and them getting a different response every time. Just Schnepp couldn't kiss ass and go, yeah. And I'm glad he didn't. He was just sitting there like, like he just like, that's not what the other guy said. That was interesting as well. His interviews with all the people that pretty much put their hearts into this film that was never made. Superman Lives. My final thoughts on it is, you guys should check it out. I mean, it definitely was worth the wait. Sorry, I'm still not feeling too good. I expected a little bit better quality documentary, so to speak, but with only a budget and so much, like, it still was so good because it just gave me everything I wanted. I heard about this, but I never saw any concept art. I never saw any footage. The interviews just like was icing on the cake. I really loved that concept art. I really loved that skull spaceship that they showed. That was so freaking sick. And I love to hear the people talk about this film because it just seemed like this film was made, but it wasn't. It all came down to it just wasn't made, So it's a what if. What if this would have happened? In all honesty, I would have loved to see it, but I just looking at the concept art, looking at everything, it was just a mess. It was a mess. Nobody was taking control. Even if it was Tim Burton, even if it was the studio, nobody took control and say, okay, you could just tell this thing was just going everywhere, trying to pack in everything in one film. Superman dying against Doomsday, Superman getting revived. I mean, you had Doomsday, you had Brainiac in here, you had some of the Justice League. It was way too much. So pulling the plug, I mean, I think that was a smart move on the studios because it's just it would have been just crazy. It would have been crazy to handle, but I did want to see it just because, you just see everybody, you hear everybody talk about it, and they're like, damn, dude, we could have made something special, but it is what it is. It is what it is, so. The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened by John Schnepp. John, I think you did a great job. I think you definitely nailed all the information we could ever want. It just was really entertaining. I really enjoyed the interviews. I really enjoyed hearing everything about this film that just wasn't made. And I just would have, oh man, if they would have made this film with Nick Cage, Nick Cage now, Nicolas Cage right now, if they still make this film, that would be up. They could do an animated film. Just saying. Tim Burton, animated, you never know. Thank you guys for listening. I'm Dan the Man. If you haven't already, like the video if you like it. Please subscribe if you like to subscribe. And comment below. You see, I'm just everywhere right now. I'm not feeling good. Thank you guys for listening, and Dan the Man's out.